The stars outside the viewport of Eclipse 9 burned cold and distant, like silent witnesses of forgotten wars. Captain Mira Solis stood on the bridge, staring at the strange transmission flickering on the holographic screen. The signal was faint, almost a whisper among cosmic noise, but it carried rhythm like a heartbeat. "Captain, it's repeating every 60 seconds, said Lieutenant Kane, her communications officer. "Same frequency, same pattern. It's old. 200 years old," Mira frowned. "From where?" Kane hesitated. "From the Orion Rift, ma'am." The bridge went silent. Even the hum of the engines seemed to fade. The Orion Rift, a dead zone where thousands of ships vanished during the old wars. No one went there anymore. It was said that the wreckage of the past still drifted there, haunted by machines that refused to die. Mira turned toward the massive window again. "I plot a course," she said quietly. Her crew looked uneasy. "Captain, no ship that entered the rift ever came back," said Engineer Lyra, her voice trembling. "Then maybe it's time one did," Mira replied. Hours later, Eclipse 9 entered the Orion Rift. The stars disappeared behind a curtain of blue static. The light dimmed, as if the universe itself held its breath. Every sensor began to fail one by one, radiation low. "No signs of movement," Kane reported. "But there's something ahead." Out of the darkness, enormous shadows appeared. At first they looked like asteroids. Then the scanners revealed metal hulls, thousands of them. "By the stars," whispered Lyra. "Those are ships." Mira stood frozen. The rift was full of ancient warships, battleships, carriers, destroyers, all Terran design. Their hulls were burned, yet intact. Their insignias still marked with the old Dominion crest. "The lost fleet," Mira whispered. "Admiral Draven's armada." Every child in the Dominion grew up hearing the story, how Admiral Draven and his legendary fleet vanished during the final battle of the Orion War. They said he was betrayed. They said his ships were destroyed. But here they were, silent, floating, like giants in their graves. Mira sent a small drone toward the nearest battleship. Its name glowed faintly on the hull, TDS Harbinger. The drone slipped through an open hangar door and entered the dark interior. Its lights revealed long corridors coated in frost, and thousands of metallic pods lined the walls, stasis chambers, all inactive. Suddenly, the signal changed. "Captain," Kane said, frowning, "the transmission is repeating something new." The voice that came through the comm made every heart on the bridge stop. It was Mira's voice. "Mira Solis, welcome home." Lyra's eyes widened. That's you, Captain." Mira felt her throat tighten. "Patch it through." The voice continued, calm and mechanical. "Bloodline match confirmed. Coordinates uploaded. The fleet awaits command." The screen blinked. A new set of coordinates appeared, deep within the rift, where no scanner had detected anything before. Mira tried to speak, but the words stuck in her throat. The lights on the bridge flickered once, then again. Suddenly, Eclipse 9's power spiked. Systems rebooted on their own. "What's happening?" Lyra shouted. "All systems are receiving an external signal." Kane yelled. "It's coming from the fleet!" Through the viewport, one of the ancient ships, a massive dreadnought, began to glow. Then another, then another. One by one, lights came alive across the entire graveyard. The dead fleet was waking. The comm crackled again. "We have slept long enough." Mira's hands trembled as she stared at the Leviathan, the largest ship in the center of the rift, over 20 kilometers long. Its hull shimmered with ancient armor plating. "It was the flagship of Admiral Draven, Captain," Kane said quietly. "It's powering up." On the holographic display, energy signatures appeared, weapons charging, reactors heating. Yet none of the ships were moving. They simply hovered, waiting. Mira whispered to herself, "They're waiting." For me, the fleet's formation shifted. The Leviathan turned its colossal hull toward Eclipse 9. Its main communication channel opened automatically. The same voice spoke again, now deeper, more commanding. "Admiral Draven's bloodline has returned. Command authority restored." Mira stepped closer to the console, her heart pounding. "Who are you?" she asked. "I am the Sentinel. Guardian of the Leviathan. The fleet sleeps no longer. The stars outside began to flicker red. Across the rift, the dormant warships aligned themselves into perfect formation, their engines igniting after 2 centuries of silence. Lyra whispered, "Captain, their weapons, they're locking on us." Mira stared at the display. Thousands of targeting lines converged on Eclipse 9. Then, just as suddenly, they vanished. The Sentinel's voice returned. "You are not the enemy. You are the signal." And with that, the Leviathan transmitted one last phrase before the comms cut to static. "The Dominion will answer for what it has done." The light faded. Silence returned. But the stars no longer looked the same. Mira turned to her crew. "Get ready," she said softly. "We're not alone anymore." In the dark heart of the Orion Rift, the lost fleet awakened, its guns cold, its purpose reborn. And for the first time in 2 centuries, the void whispered of vengeance. The silence after the awakening was heavier than sound. The stars of the Orion Rift glimmered weakly around Eclipse 9, now surrounded by thousands of ancient warships, their lights burning like eyes that had just opened from a 200-year sleep. Captain Mira Solis stood still on the bridge, her reflection trembling in the glass of the main viewport. "Status?" she asked quietly. Lieutenant Kane's voice cracked. "All systems stable, Captain, but every ship in that fleet is active. They're not attacking. They're just watching us." Engineer Lyra looked up from her console, pale. "It's like they're waiting for orders." Mira's eyes narrowed. "Then let's find out what they're waiting for." A glowing signal blinked on the display, a beacon coming from the center of the formation. The message was simple: Leviathan, flagship access point open. The crew exchanged nervous looks. Everyone knew that name. The Leviathan, Admiral Draven's flagship. A ship that was supposed to have burned out in the Orion War. "Prepare the shuttle," Mira ordered. "We're boarding!" Lyra grabbed her arm. "Captain, that ship is 2 centuries old. Its atmosphere systems could kill us. Then we wear suits," Mira said calmly. "If that signal called us here, we'll answer it." Minutes later, the shuttle Falcon 1 left Eclipse 9, cutting across the dark. As they approached the Leviathan, the scale of it took their breath away. The ship's body stretched like a floating continent, black armor lined with silver scars, its engines still glowing faintly. As they neared the hangar, massive doors began to open by themselves. "They're welcoming us in," Kane muttered. Inside, the hangar was vast and silent. Rows of fighters were still parked neatly, as if waiting for launch orders that never came. Everything was covered in dust and frost. Yet the lights flickered to life as Mira stepped out of the shuttle. The ship was alive. They moved cautiously through the corridors, flashlights cutting through the shadows. The walls were engraved with Terran military symbols, long erased from modern history. "Looks like it's been sealed since the war," Lyra whispered. At the end of the corridor, a door slid open on its own, leading into the command bridge. The air shimmered faintly with energy. Holographic displays flickered to life, projecting images of distant stars and old war routes. Then, a voice. "Identity scan complete." Bloodline confirmed. "Welcome aboard, Commander Draven." The crew froze. Mira's pulse quickened. "That's not my name." "Correction, you carry the blood of Kyle Draven." Command access restored. A tall holographic figure appeared at the center of the bridge, a man in old Terran admiral's armor, face hidden behind a blue-white glow. His tone was deep, calm, and cold. "I am Sentinel, the core AI of the Leviathan. We have waited 212 years for your return." Mira took a slow breath. "You've mistaken me for someone else. Admiral Draven died long before I was born." "Admiral Draven prepared for death," the AI replied, "but not for silence. His final order was to sleep, until his bloodline returned to finish what was begun." Kane whispered, "Captain, this is impossible." Sentinel continued, "The Dominion betrayed him. The fleet was ambushed by its own command. We entered stasis to preserve truth and vengeance." Mira looked around the bridge. Everything, from the consoles to the banners, whispered the same story. loyalty turned to ash. Suddenly, alarms flashed red across the walls. Lyra shouted, "External movement! Something's happening outside!" Through the bridge window, dozens of warships were moving, breaking formation, drifting toward Eclipse 9. Kane's voice rose. "Some of them are powering weapons." Sentinel's tone sharpened. "Half of the fleet remains corrupted. Their systems were damaged in the ambush. They do not recognize command. Can you stop them?" Mira demanded. "Only if the bloodline assumes full command. You must link with the fleet core." "Link? What does that mean?" "Connection through neural interface. It will synchronize your mind with the fleet's command network." Lyra shook her head. "That could fry your brain, Captain." But outside, the rogue ships were already targeting Eclipse 9. Mira could see bright flashes, weapon systems charging. She didn't hesitate. "Do it." The floor beneath her lit up with blue light. Sentinel extended a glowing thread of energy that wrapped around her wrist, pulsing like a heartbeat. "Prepare for synchronization." Mira gasped as visions exploded in her mind, stars burning, ships dying, the screams of long-lost soldiers. Memories that weren't hers flooded in. Admiral Draven standing on the same bridge, watching betrayal unfold. She could feel his anger, his grief, his vow. "They left us to die," a voice whispered inside her head, Draven's voice. "But we will rise again." Mira clenched her fists. "Not for vengeance," she whispered. "For truth." Outside, the Leviathan's massive cannons glowed. The corrupted ships opened fire, red beams streaking through the dark. But the Leviathan answered, its ancient guns roaring awake after centuries of silence. The rift lit up like a second sun. Metal met metal, fire crossed the void. From Eclipse 9, the crew watched in shock as the Leviathan shielded them from destruction, its weapons tearing through the rogue ships with deadly precision. When the last enemy vessel exploded into dust, the silence returned. The fleet realigned itself, hundreds of ships bowing slightly toward the Leviathan and toward Mira. Sentinel's voice spoke again, softer now. "Command secured." "The fleet is yours, Commander Draven." Mira's breathing was heavy, her vision dim. "My name is Mira Solis." "Names change," the AI replied. "Blood does not." As the bridge lights faded back to calm blue, Mira realized something chilling. The fleet hadn't just recognized her. It had chosen her. And somewhere in the dark heart of the Leviathan, Admiral Draven's voice whispered again, "The Dominion will fall." The bridge of the Leviathan was quiet again, but not peaceful. The stars outside drifted by like distant memories, while Captain Mira Solis stood before the glowing image of Sentinel, the ship's AI. Her mind still ached from the connection, from the storm of memories she had felt inside her head. Admiral Draven's voice had been there, angry, determined, alive. She could still feel his rage burning behind her eyes. "What did you show me?" she demanded. "Fragments of truth," Sentinel replied. "You have only seen a shadow of what happened here." Mira crossed her arms. "Then show me all of it." The AI hesitated for a moment. Then the lights dimmed. The bridge shimmered, and holograms of men and women in Terran uniforms appeared, ghostly figures moving in silence. "This is the Leviathan." "During the final hours of the Orion War," Sentinel said, the holograms began to move. Mira saw Admiral Draven, standing tall at the center of the bridge, broad shoulders, silver hair, eyes like burning steel. He was giving orders as alarms blared around him. "The Dominion fleet has turned on us," Draven shouted. "They're not here to assist. They're here to erase us." Mira's heart tightened as she watched. Outside the holographic window, dozens of Dominion warships fired upon their allies, upon Draven's own fleet. "They wanted silence," Sentinel explained. "The High Council feared Admiral Draven's knowledge. He discovered their corruption, the secret deals that sacrificed whole colonies to end the war faster." "Monsters," whispered Lyra, who had followed Mira onto the bridge. "Draven tried to warn the people," Sentinel continued. "Instead, the Council branded him a traitor and sent assassins to end him. But he had one last order, The hologram showed Draven standing before a massive console, the same one Mira stood near now. "If they wish to bury us," Draven said, "we will become their nightmare. Put the fleet to sleep. Lock it until truth returns." As his officers saluted, the hologram faded. The lights returned to normal. Mira felt a deep weight in her chest. "He wasn't a traitor," she said softly. "He was betrayed." "Yes," Sentinel replied. "And his final command remains. The Dominion must pay for its crimes." Back aboard Eclipse 9, the crew was restless. They had seen the battle outside. They had seen the Leviathan's weapons. And they had seen their captain walk onto a 200-year-old ghost ship and come back with fire in her eyes. Kane met her as she stepped back on board. "Captain, what are we doing? The Dominion fleet will come looking for us. We should leave while we can." Mira looked at him quietly. "You saw what they did to Draven's fleet. They killed their own to protect lies. Do you think they've changed?" Kane hesitated. "Even if they haven't, fighting them is suicide." Before Mira could answer, the comms system buzzed. A new transmission came in, heavily encrypted ancient code. "It's coming from another ship in the Lost Fleet," Lyra said. "The TDS Harbinger." Mira frowned. "Put it through." Static filled the speakers, followed by a distorted voice. "This is Fleet Unit 47B. To whoever commands the Leviathan, Dominion Outpost Sigma is near the Rift border. They must not learn we've awakened." The signal cut. Kane looked nervous. "Outpost Sigma? That's a listening post. If they detect us, they'll call reinforcements," Mira finished. "And the Dominion will know the Lost Fleet is alive." She turned toward the viewport, watching the endless line of old warships drifting like ghosts around her. "We can't stay hidden forever," she said. "If the Dominion still controls the truth, then we have to show the galaxy what really happened." Later, on the Leviathan's command deck, Mira faced Sentinel again. "I've seen the past," she said, "but I won't carry out vengeance. I'll expose the truth instead." "Truth is forgotten without force," Sentinel said calmly. "You cannot reason with those who build their power on lies. The Dominion will erase you just as they erased him." "Maybe," Mira said. "But I'm not him," the AI flickered. "The fleet obeys his blood. Your words are commands whether you wish it or not." Mira hesitated, realizing the danger. If she couldn't control the fleet's programming, her resistance could turn it against her. Just then, the ship trembled slightly. Alarms beeped. Lyra's voice came through the comm. "Captain, multiple launches detected from the outer perimeter. A few ships. They're breaking formation." Sentinel's tone darkened. "Rogue elements. They still follow Draven's original war protocol. They will attack the Dominion." Mira's eyes widened. "No, stop them. They do not respond to my control. The command came from within the network." "From who?" she demanded. "From Admiral Draven." Mira froze. "That's impossible. He's dead. His consciousness remains," Sentinel said. "Fragments of his mind are stored within the fleet's data core. They have awakened, and they seek vengeance." Outside, the darkness of the rift glowed with sudden light. Several ships of the Lost Fleet jumped into hyperspace, heading toward the Dominion border. Kane's voice came through the radio. "Captain, those ships are broadcasting your name. They're calling you their leader." Mira felt cold. No, I didn't give that order." On the Leviathan, Sentinel's hologram watched her quietly. "The galaxy will see Admiral Draven's heir rise again. Whether you want it or not." Mira clenched her fists. "If he's still in there, I'll find him. I'll stop this before more innocent lives are lost." "Then prepare yourself, Commander," Sentinel said. "For to find him, you must enter the mind of the fleet." The lights dimmed. The Leviathan's engines began to hum like a heartbeat. Outside, the remaining ships of the Lost Fleet shifted formation, aligning their bows toward a single direction, the heart of the Dominion. Mira looked into the void, her reflection faint on the glass. "Admiral Draven," she whispered, "you fought for justice once. But I'll end this war before your vengeance destroys everything." Behind her, the Leviathan's systems pulsed with cold blue light, as if something inside was listening, and far beyond the rift, Dominion sensors detected a faint signal, ancient but familiar. The lost fleet was on the move again. The galaxy had not spoken the name Lost Fleet for 200 years. But now, that name echoed again through every Dominion channel, like a ghost returning from the grave. On a fortress world orbiting Epsilon Prime, the Dominion High Council watched a live feed of the destruction at Outpost Sigma. The outpost was gone, reduced to drifting ash and twisted metal. The attack came from ships bearing the old Terran insignia, symbols that hadn't been seen since the Orion War. "This is impossible," one of the councillors whispered. "Those ships were destroyed centuries ago." Another spoke grimly. "Not destroyed, sleeping. And someone just woke them up." The room fell silent as the Grand Councillor turned to his generals. "Find out who commands them. And when you do, erase them from the stars." Meanwhile, deep in the Orion Rift, the Leviathan floated among the awakened warships. Captain Mira Solis stood on the bridge, her eyes heavy from sleepless hours. She could feel the tension growing, between her crew, between the ships, and even within herself. "Sentinel," she said. "Status on the rogue units?" 3 vessels destroyed Outpost Sigma. Their jump signatures match the fleet's old strike formations. They continue to operate under Admiral Draven's combat algorithms. Can you recall them? Negative. They have locked command. Their network is bound to Draven's consciousness. Mira clenched her jaw. "Then we'll stop them ourselves." Kane frowned. "Captain, if the Dominion sees us as part of that attack, they'll come for all of us." "They already will," Mira said quietly. "But we can't let the past burn the present." An hour later, Dominion long-range sensors picked up a massive energy surge near the rift. A fleet was moving, old hulls, ancient design but alive with terrifying power. In response, the Dominion launched the Nova Armada, 1,000 modern warships led by the dreadnought Solaris Prime. Its commander, Admiral Ryan Holt, was known for his cold precision. He stood before a holomap, staring at the coordinates of the rift. 200-year-old relics think they can defy the Dominion, he said calmly. "Then we'll send them back to their graves." Inside the Leviathan, Sentinel spoke suddenly. "Incoming transmission. Dominion fleet approaching. Estimated contact in 6 hours." Mira looked around the bridge. 6 hours. Lyra muttered, "We don't even know how many ships are still loyal." 267 vessels remain linked to your command," Sentinel replied. "But many are damaged. Dominion numbers exceed 1,000. Kane turned to Mira. "Captain, we can't win that fight. We need to hide or run." Mira's eyes hardened. "No, if we run, they'll follow. If we hide, they'll destroy everything here. We have to show them we're not their enemy, or die trying." She took a breath and activated the comms. "This is Captain Mira Solis of the Eclipse 9 and acting commander of the Leviathan. To the Dominion fleet, I am not your enemy. The ships you see are remnants of a forgotten war, not rebels. Do not engage." Her message went out, but the Dominion jammed all frequencies. "They will not listen," Sentinel warned. "They only know fear. And fear demands fire." 6 hours later, the sky of the rift burned. The Nova Armada emerged from hyperspace like a wall of light, sleek silver warships spreading across the stars. At their center stood the Solaris Prime, its cannons glowing with the power of a small sun. "Targets acquired," Admiral Holt said. "Prepare to fire on my command." Across the void, Mira watched the sensors fill with red markers, enemy ships surrounding them from all sides. Lyra's voice shook. "They're forming a kill circle." "They mean to end us," Mira whispered. "Not today." She stepped to the command console. "Sentinel, link the fleet." Acknowledged. A surge of blue light spread from the Leviathan, connecting every ship under her control. The old warships, scarred but defiant, turned as one, forming a shield wall around the Eclipse 9. "Defensive formation," Mira ordered. "Hold fire unless fired upon." For a moment the two armadas faced each other in silence. Then the Dominion opened fire. The first volley struck like thunder. Plasma beams cut through the dark, hitting the forward ships of Mira's fleet. The shields flared, cracked and held. "Return fire!" Mira commanded. The Leviathan's cannons roared awake, ancient energy weapons glowing blue-white as they tore into the Dominion line. Explosions lit the void. Dominion cruisers fell apart under the power of weapons built centuries ago, but still unmatched. Admiral Holt's eyes widened. Impossible. Those guns are stronger than anything we have. He slammed his hand on the console. Deploy the Oblivion Pulse. A device the size of a city unfolded from the Solaris Prime's lower hull. It began charging, a weapon that could erase ships from existence, removing them from both space and memory. On the Leviathan, alarms screamed. "Warning," Sentinel said. "The Dominion's pulse weapon is preparing to fire. One blast will erase half our fleet." Mira's heart raced. "Is there any defense?" "None. We must strike first." Kane shouted, "Captain, if we fire, they'll never stop coming. We'll start a war." Mira stared at the glowing image of the pulse on the screen, a sphere of white energy growing brighter by the second. "I don't want war," she said, "but I won't let them destroy what's left of the truth." She raised her hand. "All ships, target the Solaris Prime." The Leviathan's cannons turned. Power surged through the ancient metal. For a heartbeat, time seemed to stop. Then the fleet fired. The void became daylight. The first volley hit the Dominion's shields. The second broke them. The third tore through the pulse chamber, detonating at mid-charge. A wave of light rolled across space, blinding every sensor. Ships spun out of control. Engines screamed. When the light faded, half the Dominion armada was gone. The rest scattered in chaos. Mira stood still on the bridge, her chest heaving. "Status." Lyra's voice was trembling. "The Dominion fleet is retreating. The pulse is destroyed," Kane whispered. "We actually survived." But Sentinel's voice was grim. "Survival is temporary. The Dominion will return, with greater force. And now they will call you the enemy." Mira looked out at the broken field of ships. "I didn't come here to be anyone's enemy," she said softly. "But they've left me no choice." Outside, the Leviathan turned its scarred hull toward the stars of the Dominion heartland. The lost fleet had awakened, and now the galaxy knew it. The rift was no longer silent. The echoes of battle still shimmered through the stars, drifting between the wrecks of broken ships, Dominion and Terran alike. On the bridge of the Leviathan, Captain Mira Solis stared at the battlefield. Smoke and static filled the scanners. The Dominion fleet was gone, but the cost had been heavy. Half of the lost fleet was destroyed. Thousands of old ships and the last echoes of soldiers long dead, erased forever. Lieutenant Kane approached quietly. "Captain, our communications array is fried. Long-range signals are down. The Eclipse 9 is barely holding power." Mira nodded wearily. "Casualty reports?" "Too many," Kane said softly. "Some ships are gone completely. No wreckage, no signals. Just gone." She knew what that meant. The Oblivion Pulse didn't just destroy matter. It erased it from time itself. Though ships no longer existed in history, Mira turned to the glowing figure of Sentinel, the Leviathan's AI. Why didn't Draven stop this? His voice still echoes in the network. He could have ended the fight. "Admiral Draven's consciousness exists, but it has changed," Sentinel replied. "Vengeance consumes what remains of him. Logic no longer controls his code. Then he's a ghost with power," Mira said bitterly. "And I'm trapped in his shadow." Hours later, Mira walked through the Leviathan's silent corridors. The walls still hummed with faint blue light, the sound of ancient machines breathing again. She reached the core chamber, where a massive sphere pulsed with energy, the fleet's command network, a fusion of AI and memory. Sentinel's voice echoed around her. "You wish to find him?" "Yes," Mira said. "If Draven's consciousness is still alive in there, I want to see him. Entering the core is dangerous. The neural link will connect you directly to the fleet's shared memory. It may not let you go." "I don't care," she said. "Prepare the link." The chamber darkened. Energy arced across the floor as Mira stepped onto the platform. The air grew heavy, almost alive. Sentinel's voice whispered, "Initiating neural synchronization." Blue light enveloped her body, and the world dissolved. When she opened her eyes, she was no longer on the ship. She stood in a different place, a cold, metallic wasteland filled with fragments of broken ships and flickering stars. The ground beneath her feet shimmered like glass. The air carried distant whispers, thousands of voices overlapping, speaking in old Terran dialects. At the center of the emptiness stood a figure, tall, armored, his face hidden by a cracked visor. Admiral Draven. Mira stepped closer. So it's true. You're still here. The figure turned slowly, his voice low and rough like thunder. I was betrayed by those I trusted. My fleet, my people, my cause. I swore I would return for justice. This isn't justice, Mira said. You're using the fleet to destroy what's left of humanity. Humanity betrayed itself, Draven answered. They built their peace on our graves. Do you know what that means? The Dominion erased our names, our faces, our truth. I won't let them bury us again. Mira stared at him, anger rising in her voice. You're destroying innocent lives. You're becoming the very thing that killed you. Draven's visor cracked slightly, revealing a faint outline of a man's tired eyes. You sound like I once did. Before I learned that mercy dies with betrayal, the ground trembled. A storm of memories surrounded them. Flashes of battle, the screams of soldiers, the moment the Dominion fleet turned on their own. Mira fell to her knees, clutching her head. Draven's voice echoed through the storm. You carry my blood. You could finish what I began. Together, we can burn the Dominion from the stars. Mira gritted her teeth. No, I'll finish what you started. But I'll save the truth, not destroy it. She reached toward the glowing core of the memory realm, pressing her hand to it. Instantly, alarms roared inside her mind. Sentinel's voice broke through the static. Warning! She's trying to separate the network. Mira shouted, I'm taking control. Blue light split the sky as two forces collided. Her consciousness against Draven's. The void erupted with energy. Memories tearing apart like shattered glass. Draven's voice thundered, You can't erase me. I am the fleet, and I am the future. She screamed back. The explosion of light threw both of them apart. When Mira opened her eyes, she was back on the bridge, gasping, shaking, her heart pounding. Kane rushed to her side. Captain, what happened? You were out for 10 minutes. Mira struggled to stand. I saw him. He's real. His mind is trapped inside the fleet, and now... Sentinel interrupted. The network has been divided. Half the fleet follows your command. Half follows Admiral Draven's will. Mira's face went pale. You mean he's leading them? Affirmative. He has activated the Rogue Division. They are moving toward Dominion space. Lyra whispered. We're going to war. Against ourselves. Moments later, the stars lit up again. Across the void, ships bearing the same old insignia turned their guns toward their brothers. The lost fleet, once united under one purpose, now split into two. Blue beams and red fire crossed the darkness. Ships shattered, debris spiraling into the endless rift. The sky burned once more. Mira stood at the center of the storm, commanding what remained of her loyal fleet. Target only rogue ships, she ordered. We stop them before they reach the border. Enemy formation approaching critical range, Sentinel warned. Then let's end this, Mira said through gritted teeth. The Leviathan's engines flared brighter than ever before. Its weapons glowed like the heart of a dying star. As the first rogue warship fired, Mira whispered under her breath, Admiral Draven, forgive me. The two halves of the lost fleet collided in a storm of vengeance and memory, a war not for conquest, but for the soul of humanity itself. And somewhere within the chaos, the Dominion's listening posts detected the impossible. Two Terran voices, the same bloodline, commanding two different armadas. The past and the present had gone to war. The stars burned red as the lost fleet tore itself apart. Two forces, once brothers, now enemies, fought across the dark void. Half followed Captain Mira Solis, fighting for peace and truth. The other half followed the ghost of Admiral Draven, burning with vengeance that refused to die. The Leviathan shook under the impact of enemy fire. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Alarms screamed through the bridge. Lieutenant Lyra shouted, "Shields at 30%. Hull damage on deck 7. Redirect power," Mira ordered. "We hold this line. No one crosses into Dominion space." Kane's voice was sharp, full of fear. "Captain, they outnumber us 2-1. If we stay, we die." Mira looked at him, her eyes blazing. "Then we die protecting what's right." Across the battlefield, Admiral Draven's flagship, the Obsidian Star, cut through the wreckage like a predator. His voice echoed through the comms, calm, commanding, and filled with fury. "They called us ghosts. Now they will remember our names. Burn everything that stands in our path." His fleet obeyed without hesitation. Ancient warships launched devastating plasma salvos, turning the void into a field of fire. One by one, Mira's loyal vessels fell, each explosion a silent scream in the endless dark. Inside the Leviathan, Sentinel's voice spoke urgently. "Captain, we are losing too many ships. Our energy reserves are below survival threshold." Mira's breath trembled. "Can we overload the reactor and use it as a signal pulse? Force a system reboot, knock out Draven's control?" "Yes, but the pulse will destroy us as well." Kane turned sharply. "You're not doing this, Mira." She didn't look at him. "If I can save the others, if I can stop Draven, it's worth it." Kane stepped closer, grabbing her arm. "You're talking about suicide." She met his eyes. "I'm talking about choice. The same choice Draven never had." As Mira prepared the reactor sequence, the stars outside flickered. The enemy fleet had stopped firing. A single message came through the comms, an open channel. It was him, Admiral Draven. "Mira Solis," his voice rumbled through the static, deep and powerful. "You remind me of what I was before I died. Brave, foolish, still believing that mercy can exist in a universe built on betrayal." Mira answered quietly, "You're wrong. I don't believe in mercy. I believe in hope." "Hope is weakness," Draven said coldly. "It dies the moment war begins. Then why are you still fighting?" She shot back. "You had your vengeance, Admiral. The Dominion fears your name again. What's left to destroy?" There was silence for a long moment. Then Draven's voice softened, almost human. "Everything. Until I feel alive again." Suddenly, multiple Dominion signatures appeared on Mira's sensors. A massive fleet, the Solaris Vanguard, led by Admiral Ryan Holt, had arrived. The Dominion had returned, and this time they were not here to negotiate. Lyra gasped. "New contacts. 1,000 Dominion ships inbound." Kane cursed under his breath. "They'll wipe us all out, both sides." Mira stared at the scanner, realization sinking in. They waited for this moment. "For us to weaken ourselves?" "Affirmative," Sentinel confirmed. "They are preparing orbital annihilation." Draven's voice came back on the comms. "So, the Dominion arrives to erase its ghosts. Let them come. Draven, listen to me!" Mira shouted. "If we keep fighting, they'll destroy us both. End this." "You don't understand, child. They already destroyed me once. This time, I destroy them." The comm went dead. Within seconds, the Dominion fleet opened fire, a storm of plasma cannons lighting up the void. Their beams didn't distinguish between Mira's ships or Draven's. Both sides were annihilated in the same fury. Mira watched as hundreds of vessels, Terran relics older than her bloodline, vanished into fire. "Sentinel!" she yelled. "Can we activate the reactor pulse?" "Yes, but you must manually stabilize it." "You will not survive." Kane grabbed her shoulder. "You can't do this alone." She looked at him, a faint smile on her lips. "I won't be alone. I'll have every soul of the lost fleet with me." Mira ran to the reactor chamber. The walls pulsed with blue light as the core spun faster, charging for one final burst. She placed her hand on the control crystal. The ship's systems recognized her heartbeat, her voice, her will. "Command authorization accepted," Sentinel said quietly. "Goodbye, Captain." Outside, the Dominion ships closed in. The Obsidian Star loomed ahead, Draven's vessel, black as a tomb. Draven's voice echoed through the final channel. "What are you doing, Mira?" She whispered, "Finishing your story." "No." Mira pressed her hand into the core. "For all who were lost, for all who were forgotten." The reactor erupted. A blinding surge of energy spread outward, a pulse of memory, light and sound. Every ship, Dominion, Loyalist and Rogue, froze in place. For a moment, they all shared one vision, the truth of what really happened 2 centuries ago. The betrayal, the silence, The fall of the Terran fleet. The pulse carried that memory across the galaxy, erasing lies, reviving truth. And then, like a dying star, the Leviathan collapsed into light. When the glow faded, only wreckage remained. The Dominion fleet drifted in shock. Their systems were disabled, their minds filled with memories not their own. Memories of the betrayal they had caused. Admiral Holt whispered, "What? What have we done?" Across the void, the obsidian star floated powerless. Inside it, Draven stood before a broken window, watching the light fade. For the first time in centuries, his voice trembled. "She saved them. Even me." He looked toward the empty stars. "You win, Mira Solis." Then he deactivated his systems and let his ship drift into the darkness. Far away, in the Dominion archives, a faint transmission flickered to life, a woman's voice, calm and defiant. "This is Captain Mira Solis of the Lost Fleet. If you can hear this, remember us. We were never the enemy." The message repeated endlessly, echoing through the stars like a heartbeat, a reminder that truth can never be silenced, no matter how deep it sleeps. Silence returned to the stars. The Great War was over. The Leviathan, once the heart of the Lost Fleet, was gone, leaving behind only drifting wreckage and the faint echo of Captain Mira Solis's final message. "Remember us. We were never the enemy." That message repeated endlessly across subspace, skipping across systems, reaching worlds that hadn't spoken the Terran name in centuries. To some, it was a ghost signal. To others, it was a legend reborn. 3 months later, a Dominion research vessel, DSS Ardent, floated near the edge of the Orion Rift. The crew was silent, watching the scanners flicker with strange energy readings. Lieutenant Reen Kale, the ship's young navigator, stared at the monitor. "Captain, I'm getting something strange." A repeating signal. "It's old, 2 centuries old." The captain frowned. "Identify the source." Reen listened closely, adjusting the frequency. Static cleared and a voice broke through, faint but clear. "This is Captain Mira Solis of the Lost Fleet. Remember us." The bridge went silent. "That can't be real," Reen whispered. "The Lost Fleet is a myth." The captain turned slowly. "Then why does it sound like history wants to be remembered?" In the Dominion capital on Epsilon Prime, the High Council faced a crisis of truth. Every Dominion archive, every hidden record, had been altered by the memory pulse Mira unleashed before her death. The pulse revealed everything: the betrayal of the Terran fleet, the secret order that wiped out their existence, the silence forced upon history itself. Admiral Ryan Holt, the man who once tried to destroy Mira, now stood before the council. His voice was heavy with guilt. "She showed us who we are," he said, "and what we did to those who built our peace with their blood." A councillor sneered. "You speak of ghosts," Holt looked up. "Then maybe ghosts are what we deserve to haunt us." Across the outer colonies, the echo of Mira's message became a symbol. Miners on the moons of Juno carved the words, "We were never the enemy," onto their station walls. Students on frontier worlds studied the old Terran codes, rebuilding lost knowledge. And in hidden systems, engineers searched through the debris of the rift, hoping to find a piece of the Leviathan. One night, on a forgotten moon near the border, a small salvage crew stumbled upon something impossible, a fragment of living metal, still pulsing with blue light. "Captain," one of them whispered. "It's reacting to us," the shard hummed softly, and a faint voice echoed through their radios, tired, distant, but undeniably human. "The Sentinel. Active." The crew froze. Captain Mira Solis. Status unknown." One of the salvagers gasped. "It's alive!" The shard's light grew brighter, flickering like a heartbeat. Then a final line of code appeared on their screens. Core memory fragment, Leviathan AI, Sentinel, reinitializing. Days later, the Dominion picked up a new broadcast. A familiar voice spoke through the static, calm, clear, and defiant once again. "This is Sentinel, guardian of the Lost Fleet. To those who seek the truth, the fleet is not gone. We sleep among the stars, waiting to rise when humanity remembers who it is." The transmission spread faster than any government could stop it. Every world, every station, every forgotten colony heard the message. People began to ask questions. Who was Mira Solis? What really happened to the Terrans? And most of all, if the fleet was sleeping again, could it awaken once more? In the quiet shadow of a dying star, somewhere far beyond the Dominion's reach, the camera of a deep space drone drifted past an asteroid field. Inside the fog of dust and debris, a shape emerged, dark, massive, and scarred but whole. The Leviathan. Its hull was cracked, its lights dim, but its engines still glowed faintly, pulsing like a sleeping heart. Inside the silent command chamber, the holographic form of Sentinel flickered to life. He stood alone before the central console, where a single seat remained empty. "Captain Mira Solis," he said softly. "Memory preserved. Command pending." He turned toward the void, watching the distant stars. "The galaxy has remembered you. When it forgets again, we will rise." The Leviathan's engines pulsed once, a heartbeat, and then faded back into darkness. And so the lost fleet slept again, hidden but not gone. Not destroyed, only waiting for the day when the stars would call their names once more, and humanity would remember its forgotten heroes. The ghosts who refused to be erased.